Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Buenos dias to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. And, of course, good morning to whom again? To every corner that receives, every corner, nook, everything that gets our 100,000 watt signal, whether that be Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana. Hey, folks, we are here today, and welcome, of course, to the rest of the world who, with the magic of the internet, receives all that we have to give. And, yes, we do have listeners all over. But before we get started, of course, we have to go to the people who really make all of this happen. That is inside the studio at Caroline. Buenos dias, mis genios. Good morning, my geniuses.
Good morning, Egberto. How are you?
I am doing fine. Don't tell me you're flying solo today.
Yeah, it's single genii today.
A single genii today. Well, you know what, folks? we have the right guy in the studio right now in El Señor Jacques Van Beber. Anyway, Jack, how are you doing this morning, my brother?
I'm doing good. this morning. I got a little piece here.
I hope you had a good weekend. You got a lot of stuff done.
Well, yes, if you consider being lazy done, getting things done. Yeah, I did pretty good today.
I think you earn the right to be lazy on the weekends after you do so much during the week. But we're going to have a great show. But before we get the show going, I want to hear some of your wisdom, my brother. Talk to me.
All right. Your piece this morning about trickle down economics, being blamed on the immigrant, basically. Trickle down economic is what the neocons called neoliberal economic policies that works opposite of trickle down. It actually effervesces up economic. It funnels up money up to the chain of command, to the morbidly wealthy fat cats who turn around and use that money against you. And they say the immigrant is destroying the American dream. Might I point out that we are all immigrants with the exception of the Native America. America has ruined the economies of South and Central America with sanctions and predatory loans. They are driving the immigrant to come to America. And yes, to keep your labor costs down. So it's your politicians driving the immigrants to the border to undercut your wages and demonize them in your eyes.
You nailed it, my brother. You nailed it. Anyway, folks, as usual, Van Beber has quite a bit to say. Want to welcome Lizard Queen, who says good morning to Houston in the chat. And I imagine we will be getting quite a few more in the chat in a few minutes. We are going to have a great show for you today. And before we get started with the show, which actually, let me go ahead and get started with the show. The title of the show today is,
Sandy, are you there?
Is Kristen Welker's Truth Triggered and Unhinged Lindsey Graham. Now, the topic is Trickle Down Economics has failed. And in our newsletter, we have several other articles of that I think you'd find very interesting, from toothpaste in tubes and why aren't they eco-friendly, to the wildlife becoming more common in North America, to Christian politicians and religious figures. So we have a lot of coverage that we have. But again, we're probably not going to get to not even half of them because, again, you come first. Remember, give us a call at 713-526-5738 and hit extension number 1 to contribute, because remember, we are in Fund Drive. But in as much as we are in Fund Drive, we're still giving you a full program, both here on air and for the things we are unable to cover because we're pitching some here and there. You can pick it up at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. But again, we do our part. We want to make sure to give you a program. Before I get started, did I hear you call out Sandy? Is Sandy want to say a few words before we start the program or not? Jack?
I'm having trouble with this link right now. I'm working on it.
No problem whatsoever. Let's go ahead and get the program started. Anyway, folks, we have a great program in store for you today. Kristen Welker's challenge to Senator Lindsey Graham sent him into an unhinged warmongering rant. Meet the Press host Kristen Welker challenged Lindsey Graham for his objection to Joe Biden's withholding of bombs to Netanyahu as something Reagan did. He exploded into an unhinged warmongering rant. But we're going to start with this one. Trickle down economics, not immigrants, threaten the American dream. The ongoing attacks on the humanity of immigrants pose a threat to all of us, and we lose sight of our nation's abundance and the promise upon which it was built. Very important topic, especially in these times. This article covers a lot that I am preparing in the article that I spoke to you all about last week, which I don't want to bring to the fold until it's well thought out, and all the dots are there, all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted. But we have to, as Howard always say, vote, 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 vote. But we also need to know why and for whom we are voting. I mean, it is so important for us to take command of our own being. All right, I'm going to get into that in a minute. But folks, we are in Fund Drive, as I mentioned before. Sometimes Fund Drive run a whole lot of people off saying, they're asking for money. I want to hear content and the works. I'm going to ask you to do us here at KPFT a huge favor and stick around, because we are going to give you a good program. But at the same time, I'm going to ask you to spend a couple of minutes, even right now, so I can thank you on air, to call 713-526-5738 and hit extension 1 to contribute to keeping us on air. I'm going to repeat that slowly. Please call 713-526-5738. Hit extension number 1 and kindly, please provide us with the support that we need to keep this program and all the programs at KPFT on air. And I tell you what, a little 2-minute rant here with regards to that, and then we get into the program. Please, folks, many of you have cable bills. Many of those bills are anywhere between $100 to $300 that people pay every month for their bill. We are asking, in fact, one of the commitments that we want to put out there right now is if we get enough sustaining members of our station, of the entire KPFT, in this case, via Politics Done Right, we will be able to, instead of doing 4 big fund drives every year that last several weeks each, we'll be able to cut that down maybe to 1 or maybe not at all. If we have enough people sign, we are going to give KPFT $5 a month, $10 a month, $15 a month. Some are currently giving $25. Some are doing $50 a month right now. Less than we're asking a whole lot of people, those of you that are listening right now, to make that commitment and say, you know what? I can afford to give $5 a month, less than the price of a coffee at Starbucks, or $10 a month, a couple of Starbucks a month to Politics Done Right, so that we can have this station to keep us informed appropriately. Over here, specifically on Politics Done Right, you don't get solely what you hear on MSNBC or CBS or VC. We take a lot of the topics a bit deeper, but it's more than that. You get to have a voice in the topics that we're covering. You get to have a voice to have us discuss these topics that you need discussed. When you pay your cable bill, when you pay all these other bills, you just take what's given. We tell you what to do according to those that you're paying quite a bit of bucks for. At KPFT, You get that choice of calling in 713-526-5738 and saying, hey guys, I want to be a part of the conversation. And guess what? You get to be a part of the conversation, irrespective of your ideology, irrespective of your party, irrespective of who you are. You're treated with respect. You have a voice. But to continue doing that sort of journalism, we need to have you call 713-526-5738 and hit extension 1 and say, I want to become a sustainer. I see the value in what you guys bring to us. I see the value in listening to what Politics Done Right has to offer compared to what we're getting in the standard media and how it is used for us to take command of, or let us know that we are innately able to take command of our own politics, of our own society, of our own healthcare, if we choose not to be miseducated, if we choose to look things with our minds, that God-given minds that we have. So folks, please call 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to contribute, extension number 2. If you need to tell me something, you want to talk to something again, this is your program. Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain is also in the house with us. Thank you so kindly, Melanie, for being here. I want to get started with the program, but I want to see if our general manager is on air yet so that we can give him a piece to say, and then we'll start talking on the subject. Is Sandy here yet or not? Okay. I guess Sandy is not here yet. All right, folks, let's go ahead and get started with the program. There's an article in Common Dreams. And by the way, one of the things that I want to tell folks is the New York Times have great reporters. The Washington Post has great reporters. All our major newspapers, whether they are center, lean left, some lean right, there are very good, solid reporters here, but they are limited because these are all corporate entities. So I like to advise folks to open one's horizon and consider other rags like, Common Dreams, Daily Kos, The Nation. There are a lot of other places we can get information. Also, add to your repertoire newspapers. Newspapers from around the world are a great, great source of knowledge. And also it allows you to see things from a different perspective. And it allows you to open your mind and say, you know what, I need to look at things in this form, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I make sure to do that. I go ahead and I listen. I listen to many stations. Many stations. Read papers around the world. There's this one here in America that I like called Common Dreams as well, commondreams.org. It's a very good newspaper, online paper that presents a lot of stories. There are a lot of independent writers that go there. I've written a couple of articles at that rag as well, commondreams.org. And this particular one by Victoria Ballesteros nailed it, and it covers one of the topics we'll be covering in the article I told you about. And she named it Trickle Down Economics, Not Immigrants Threaten the American Dream. The ongoing attacks on the humanity of immigrants pose a threat to all of us, and we lose sight of our nation's abundance and the promise upon which it was built. Very important. And she says, at an age when many children are learning their ABCs, my father was a farm worker in Mexico. His job was to plant seeds with his small hands while chasing away crows that threatened to eat the freshly buried grain. I imagined him, a child, spending his days toiling behind the ox as it plowed the soil. My mother's childhood was similar. She worked as a housekeeper and a seamstress. Their meager earnings were needed for their family's survival, and as a result, neither was able to go to school. When they were in their 20s, Mom and Dad immigrated to the United States, determined that my siblings and I would get an education. They believed in an American dream where prosperity was the reward for anyone who worked hard, and they did everything they could to make it come true. I'm going to pause right there because that, as well as my experience, a guy from Panama, Central America, who always believed in the propaganda coming out of the United States, the one nation where your ability to succeed was unbounded. It just depended on how much you wanted to work. And when I came here in 1979 or 80, one of these 2 years, that is exactly what America displayed to me, even in the small town of Brenham, Texas, which is where I started in this country before I went to the University of Texas. Got a little music scholarship. I got a music scholarship in order to get my engineering degree. Now, I remember, didn't have much, was on a foreign student visa. And I remember seeing what the country was. And yes, Brenham wasn't Houston or New York, what we see from the rest of the world. Brenham was a country town, farm town, but I had to go through Houston. So I did see the big cities that everybody think of the United States when we get here. Now, I remember going to Blinn, and the first time I was able to get a job that I could take, there's restrictions on when you just come to this country as a immigrant student, as not an immigrant, as a student, a visa, whether you can work or not, etc. I went through some hoops, but the first time that I was able to work, I remember going to school and working, sweeping floors, washing dishes. Then I worked. I didn't like Blinn College. It was a 2-year junior college. Had to go to I wanted to go to the University of Texas or A&M. Applied to both, got into both, but I had to pay for it. I was on a scholarship for Blinn because a friend of my teacher in Panama had a friend at Blinn, and they were able to get me a scholarship. I couldn't quite ask a parent that I'm going to throw a scholarship away to go to one of the big universities, the place where we could succeed. So I worked my butt off, and by being able to work in the cotton mill, selling fireworks, cleaning the kitchen, washing dishes, doing all of that summer to really get all the funds together to go to college. Yes, I saw it firsthand that if you are willing to put out, if you are willing to do all these things, work hard, do jobs that a lot of these other kids that I was going to school with, their parents were taking care of everything. You could make it. Even if you didn't come here with everything, yes, you could make it. And I got to the big school. I chose UT, got to the big school and was able to do it, man. I worked 40 hours many a times as soon as I could work 40 hours as I went to school full time. And all the while I said, wow, imagine that. You can bust your butt and do something, but it kept on. My generation, as Reagan came in, and we'll touch a little bit about that later, as Reagan came in, things got more and more difficult as those policies came to fruition, because in the 1979, 80s, we're still living under the policies of the New Deal, the policies of Johnson's getting rid of poverty, all that kind of stuff in America. Things that a foreigner doesn't really understand until they come and live in the society. And these things were suddenly being dismantled. And whereas we were growing as a country, we stopped growing from the bottom up. We stopped all the things that we got away from the robber barons of the 29 to start building the middle class. And to do that, you always have to find a scapegoat. You always have to find, as you're screwing all Americans, you have to make them look somewhere else for why they're being screwed. And that's what this immigration thing is all about. Yes, there's chaos at the border quite often, but the chaos has other genesis. So I continue with their article. Today, the belief is that anyone who works hard, the belief that anyone who works hard can get ahead has diminished. A November 2023 poll by the Wall Street Journal NORC found that only 36% of U.S. voters believe in the American dream, a number that has steadily declined over the past few weeks or past few decades. It's not hard to understand why. The federal minimum wage of $7.25 an hour has not increased since 2009, despite increases in inflation in energy consumer category. Full-time workers earning minimum wage do not earn enough to pay for a two-bedroom rental anywhere in the United States. Half of the U.S. adults struggle with healthcare costs, and 66.5% of bankruptcies are due to medical expenses. 44% of us are not prepared to pay for $1,000 emergency. Student loan debts total $1.74 trillion. Poverty and hunger have increased despite generations of unprecedented economic growth. By all accounts, many Americans are struggling to do impossibly more than with increasingly less. I pause. I want you guys to think about the evil that $7.25 is still the going minimum wage in a lot of this country, no different than it was since 2009. During that time, the CEOs continue to get more, and the top 1% continue to make a hell of a lot more money as they try to find excuses why our minimum wage isn't indexed to inflation. Let me point one thing out. The working class who's making $7.25 an hour. Think about this. With inflation, which was very low for a long time, but then crept up because of the greed of corporations after the pandemic. But inflation is a constancy, right? We haven't had deflation in a long time. Inflation is a constancy. When you have a business where inflation makes them pay a bit more for their raw material, wheat, corn, groceries, etc., a little bit more for their electricity, more for their water, all these companies continue to pay these higher costs, fees. But at the same time, they don't increase the minimum wage. Worse, we have allowed them to create excuses for us as to why it is okay for a very low minimum wage. And we've tried to put it on, hey, the people who get minimum wage are those high school students anyway, and they need a place to start, and it gives the businessman an economic way to get started. And you forget. But yeah, that business guy was in business in 2009, and he was in business in 2024. And in those 15 years, that amount of money that he's paying to that minimum wage receiver continues to be less of a burden on him and more of a burden on the minimum wage person receiving that minimum wage. Just like electricity increase in price for the business person, just like the cost of goods increase in price for the business person, just like all his different costs increase, why he raises prices on items, which is a form of inflation. That same thing is happening to that minimum wage worker. But you're asking that minimum wage worker not to get any more, which, again, every time he gets a check, he's collecting less for his labor in real dollars. And we have convinced ourselves, many of us have convinced ourselves that it is okay for these businesses, these fat cats, to screw these $7.25 an hour people because somehow it'll make a better America. Of course it won't. But we have allowed them to have us lose our empathy and see things through the eyes of those that are suffering. We have allowed that. We have allowed ourselves an ideology that harm. And again, I don't want to put all that fault on us, right? I want to say that the guys who promote these policies, they have good psychologists, they have good propagandists, they have good writers that are paid very well to convince you that that thought process isn't evil. that there's something meritorious of that thought process, that somehow, yeah, it's okay. That somehow, let me give an example. By the way, welcome, Texas Blue Bonnet. You said, I liked what the attorney on Arne's show said this morning. We need to stop saying we need to flip Texas. The real thought is we need to take back Texas. That's a good thought. But we have Eric Hayes that says most jobs are not $7.25 an hour. And he's right. But the fact is there are still a lot of them that are. And those are people too, and they're not all students. But the fact that you can find that it's still okay that in 2009 you made $7.25 and that in 2024 you're making $7.25, you are saying it is okay that you devalue that minimum wage worker every year by more. Every year that $7.25 means less to that business person. Every year that $7.25 goes down in value. And for you to say that $7.25 it's good for that person, it's a moral question. It's a fairness question that we ought to we need to check our hearts, our thinking, a potential for all of this. I'm going to continue with the subject, but before that, again, it's Fund Drive. And folks, I have to get into it. And we have not received a contributor to Politics Done Right as of this hour yet. So I must digress for a few minutes and ask you folks to please give us a call at 713-526-5738. Hit extension 1 to contribute. 713-526-5738. Hit extension 1 to contribute. I have the screen on right now, ready to thank those that are giving. I have to raise about $500 for this show this morning. So I ask you so kindly, let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to pitch in for about 3-4 minutes right now. So you have time to call and not miss the rest of the dialogue that we're having. 713-526-5738. Sandy, come on in.
Hey, Egberto. Good morning. Good morning, Manager Sandy Wyman. Hey, how's it going over there?
It's going great, man. It's going great. We just need to get our first call for a great contribution.
First call for May 13th. Mother's Day is over. You've eaten the creme brulee after the buffet with your family. You were out. I saw you. We heard you. Yesterday, we did pretty well on Blue Sunday. Had a good Saturday as well. Now we're looking to continue our May share-a-thon here on this Monday morning. Kind of a foggy, at least where I am, Monday morning. Be careful out there driving. And folks, what we're doing is we're collecting the funds to continue KPFT, continue this and every other program on our airwaves with your call. And we can't do this without you. We need you to chime on in and make that donation. $5 a month is what we're asking. 5 or 10, whatever it is that you can spare on a continuing basis, which is a sustaining basis. Sustaining pledges are going to be matched with $58. $50 from an anonymous generous donor and $8 from our local station board. So your $5 a month is going to translate into a $118 pledge for KPFT as a result. That's really a powerful statement. If you can do a little bit more, maybe $10, that's great. If you want to get a memory brick out front, that's a $25 a month sustaining pledge for the 4x8 brick. And for the larger 8x8 brick, giving you more room to inscribe, it's $50 a month. Support community radio. We have no commercials. We have great content, and we have done this for over 54 years without a net, Egberto.
Yes, absolutely. So, folks, look, as Sandy said, we have some offers, thank yous that we want to give you. We have that KPFT or that Politics Done Right with the KPFT logo on it. Makes a great gift, or you can go out and wear it. And Sandy, it was funny. I was at a convention in Pittsburgh, and I actually saw somebody wearing the T-shirt in Pittsburgh. So I mean, look, we should be.
Never know.
Yeah, you never know. Look, folks, give us a call at 713-526-5738, extension number 1. Our T-shirt, the Politics Done Right T-shirt, is a contribution of $120. And again, you don't have to pay that all at once. You can also have coffee with Egberto. And the thank you for that, for a $250 contribution. And we'll go out and drink some coffee and shoot the bull for a few hours. We have one of our people right now in the chat took that up on the last offer, and we went and had some coffee. And I told him, hey, for this Saturday, I can probably go out there for about an hour with you. Ended up that the conversation got so deep and good, we were there for 3 hours. We have others that I've been out with for the coffee, and it's always longer than we planned it for, because you get a chance to have to talk and have a really good conversation. So I mean, if I were to get 2 callers right now, Sandy, that says let's do the breakfast with Egberto, $250, just as a thank you for, again, we're doing all kinds of things to try to raise some money here for the station to make sure we can keep giving this to you. Hey, that'll take care of business. So again, but we are really stressing right now, $5 a month, a coffee a month, much less than your cable bill, which is usually $100 to $300 a month. If you can do that right now, folks, if you can do that right now, I can get on with the program. I'm going to get on with the program in a few minutes, in a couple of minutes. But if we can do that right now, we can continue to do what we've been doing for 54 years. And based on the subject you're hearing today, you're not going to get this in full detail on any of our network programs. And the reason why, again, is they can't. I mean, they're good reporters there, but they can't. They can't say some of the truths that we have to say here. They can't, because much of it is going to go against those people, and not against, but it's going to enlighten folks on whenever you are on Wall Street, or whenever you turn on CNBC and you see quarter after quarter record profits, and whenever you see that there's also inflation, record profits on Wall Street, then you see that there's inflation. You have to ask yourself, where did those record profits come from? Where did those profits above and beyond the profits that been getting when inflation was almost 1 or 2%? Where are those profits coming from? Those profits are the direct result of people who have what we call pricing power to tell you, this is what you're going to pay for milk. This is what you're going to pay for eggs. This is what you're going to pay for flour. This is what you will pay for the vegetables. And by the way, the profits go to those people on Wall Street that you see there, and not to our brothers and sisters that are living in Brenham, Texas and Kilgore, Texas, that are doing the farming and making and busting their butts. Always wonder to me how farmers support some of the people who support these policies that harm them. That's why we're here, folks. And that's why we want to stay here. And in order to do so, we need you to call 713-526-5738 and hit extension 1. Or you can go to kpft.org and click that donate button. Please remember to tell them that you're doing this under the program Politics Done Right, so that it'll be tagged appropriately. We have to make sure to know what shows are doing what, etc. So give us a call, 713-526-5738, extension number 1 to contribute. Before I continue, we have Harry. Harry's here every morning. Harry, give me a minute and a half or so, because I have to get back to the program and get back to pitching. Talk to me, my brother.
Right. Well, I'll start off with, like I said last week, I will trust you had a good weekend. Hello to Sandy, and hello to Jack, and hello to Howard. I know you're out in the field. It'll be good to have you back. I enjoyed your show when I called last Friday on You Talk and on Politics Done Right. But everything that you've been covering so far, as usual, Egberto, you're right on point. and Jack with his wisdom with the neocon comments and the trickle down. As Reverend Al Sharpton says about the trickle down, they're still waiting for it to trickle down to regular Americans. And then the neocons, they wanted to trickle up because they want that tax cut. And that's why it's important. This is an election year. We have to continue to fight these people who just don't want to give average regular Americans a break with their taxes, and they only want tax cuts for people on Wall Street and the executors and the people at the top and that are in the 1%. And that's why it's very important that we, as regular Americans, get out there and vote and listen to people like Egberto Willies and what he's saying, so that we don't vote against our interests. That's what we have to do as average Americans. Vote for progressive policies. That's what we've got to do. And we have to fight these. I said this on the show last week. The fascists that want to turn us into a fascist country. And when you hear people like, I heard something over the weekend when Donald Trump was talking about, he was saying, if I was still president, there would not be any war going on in Gaza between the Israelis and Hamas. Well, he didn't explain why. And I look at that, you just think, Donald Trump, you think people like myself and other people are just stupid because you and Netanyahu are friends and you would give him everything he wants. So, American people are smarter than that, I think.
Absolutely. So look, Harry, thank you very much for your thoughtful comment as usual. I want to go ahead and get a little bit back into our program. And you are
I'll be getting into KPFT in the name of politics done right. Have a good day, guys.
Thank you, my brother. You have a great day. Folks, we haven't yet gotten our first contribution of the morning. Please go ahead and let's go ahead and get that started for Politics Done Right. 713-526-5738, extension number 1. And again, $5 a month is what we're asking for. $10 a month is what we're asking for. Either 1 or 2 coffees or whatever you can give. If you can give more, great. If you have a one, go ahead, Sandy.
Hey, Egberto.
Yes.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to Bruce and Cynthia and Michael for making donations yesterday evening. I don't think they were properly thanked, so I just did. Those contributions that come in one at a time, some of them are big, some of them are small, but at the end, they all add up to a community of funding that allows community radio to continue. Now, look, this morning we have a brand new premium. We have a stainless steel 32-ounce tumbler with a KPFT logo on it. It's a Yeti-like device or cup or tumbler. It'll keep your cold beverages cold. It'll keep your hot beverages hot. And that's a $120 pledge. And if you add $20 to that, making it a $140 contribution to KPFT, then we're going to throw in a bag of KPFT Caroline Street blended coffee beans from Lola Savannah. So you'll have something to put in that brand new tumbler, maybe some hot coffee. It'll look good in the console of your car as you're driving your car. People will go, man, that's a good looking tumbler. Where'd you get that? And you can say, by supporting community radio. Did you know they were there for 54 plus years? Did you know they were the oldest FM station in Houston? Did you know? Tell your friends about this station, because we've got something very special here in Houston, something that many, many other cities don't have, had and lost for lack of funding, or wish they had. We have it. We have KPFT, independent views, news, music. We have Egberto. This station gives Egberto a platform, 100,000 watt FM platform. If you dig this show, if you dig this station, 713-526-5738, option 1, 713-526-5738, option 1, or go to kpft.org, and up in the upper right corner, there's a blue button. It says donate, or as Susan Darrow says, donut. Click that button. Maybe a donut and some coffee would be the solution this morning. I don't know. Well, but we're still waiting for the first pledge. Let's get our Monday morning off to a good start here.
Yes, let's do it. We don't have a pledge at all for the morning here, and we need to get started. I want to get back to the program, but folks, please give a call. Let us see something on the screen so that I can say thank you, and call you out this morning for really helping out here. But anyway, continuing with I'm going to do a little bit more of the programming that I prepared last night. It doesn't have to be this way. And this is, go ahead. It doesn't have to be this way. According to to Ballesteros, the original American dream, coined in 1939, and remember that was after the crash of 29, right, was a vision of our collective prosperity as a society and a happier life for us all. In The Epic of America, James Truslow Adams described a dream of a social order in which each man and each woman shall be able to attain to the fullest stature of which they are innately capable and be recognized by others for what they are, regardless of fortuitous circumstances of birth or position. In other words, it doesn't matter who you are, how you were born, what if you were born poor, rich, or whatever. We should all have equal access to success. That's how I've always placed that statement. Equal access to success. Not equal outcomes, equal access to success. In other words, the freedom to thrive for all of us, no matter how much money we have, what we look like, or where we were born. By the 70s, my parents were both working in factories, earning minimum wage. They bought a house and raised 9 children. We had health insurance, went to school, and lived in a relatively safe community. We were far from wealthy, but society's promise of upward mobility in exchange for hard work was kept. Then came trickle-down economics and decades of policy decisions that transferred wealth away from working families in favor of corporations and the highest earners. Now, you've heard this ad nauseum. You've heard us say this ad nauseum, and it has sort of become cliche. And you just think about it. But we have been taught to think this is the way, one, things have always been, and two, the way it has to be. What we're saying is it doesn't. Worker cooperatives, having workers have decisions in corporations. After all, they are stakeholders. They're the ones that make things happen. The plutocrats could not possibly do it without them. Bill Gates is a nice guy, but Bill Gates is not the best programmer on the planet. Bill Gates is a great guy, but Bill Gates, a lot of the things being produced, he doesn't know how to do it. You educated people to do it. You sent people to the University of Texas. Thank you very much. You sent people to the A&M. You sent people all these universities who then work for corporations who built these things. The company that I formed, I can't ever. I used to have a chip on my shoulder. I did this. I was able to do this. I created this thing that could do this magical thing with this computer chip that nobody else is doing. But did I really do it? No, we got knowledge that all of us paid for, you guys paid for. And every invention on this planet didn't just come from the innate ability of some person. It came from what we've invested in all of us and what we've learned through the generations. It came as a collective. And that we have an economic system that allows the individual to monopolize on the collective, on what all of us played a part in. And then that we have brainwashed most of us into believing that that is okay, that we forget we are all investors in us all. Let's think about that. Anyway, folks, give us a call, 713-526-573. I don't have a contributor yet. Please don't leave Politics Done Right with a donut hole. Please, folks, $5 a month. You can start as $10 a month, $100 contribution, $120 contribution, get a t-shirt. Get a brick, $25 a month with whatever insignia you want for 4x8 or an 8x8 for $50 a month. There's a lot of ways that we can thank you for supporting us, which we ask that you do it now. Please go ahead and give us a call now at 713-526-5738, extension number 1. I mean, there's so much more that I want to say. but also we are in fund drive, the time of the year when we must raise the money. So please, did Sandy want to say something? Okay, I don't hear him.
I'm trying to cue him.
Oh, you're trying to cue him. All right, well, let's go to Brian while you do that. Brian, come on in, my dear brother. Brian,
yeah, okay. On. Yeah. Everybody listening should donate something. I mean, it's kind of right and it's kind of not. If you get a public forum that you can talk to and not support it financially or something else like that. So,
wow. And I didn't even, Brian, I love you, Brian. Thank you for saying that. And Brian just called in and said that. Thank you, Brian. I appreciate you. Go ahead.
Okay. And of course, why can't the left see what damage Biden is doing to this country? He can't walk, think. The process is gone. I mean, you can't see this.
Actually, I don't see what you see, and I want to tag off of something that you're saying, Brian. You notice Brian is one of my, can I call you a right wing caller? One of my right wing guys, and go ahead.
Actually, middle.
Okay, all right. You say middle. I'm gonna call you right wing, brother. But okay, I'm gonna call you middle because that's what you said. But Brian has a voice at KPFT. I disagree with Brian. I honestly disagree with Brian. I want to take Brian out for some coffee and we sit down and go over one over the other, because I think that is the kind of communication we need in this country. And I know you agree with me, Brian, on that. We need to be talking to each other. And Brian calls in, and I don't think Brian thought I would be receptive to him when he started calling in. And now he knows that, Brian is now my on-air friend. One of these days will be a flesh-to-flesh friend when we sit down for some coffee sometime. But Brian calls in all the time. And he has a platform here. Everybody has a platform here. This is a station that affords that. And that is what I'm asking folks to support. And thank you, Brian, for saying that. Finish up, Brian, so I can jump to Johnny.
No, just everybody that's listening should support and donate to this station. Thanks, and have a good day. Talk to y'all later.
Thank you, my brother. All right, let's go to Johnny. Come on in, Johnny. Give me a minute or so, Johnny.
Okay. Well, say what you will about Brian, even though he give it with one hand and he take it away with the other. Overall, at the end of the day, we have to look at the glass half full. So I view Brian as a glass half full, a work in progress. But the reason I'm calling you is because listening to you a few minutes ago when you mentioned about the trickle-down experience of your family, the working hard promise, it occurred to me that in this country, what we do, I know this is in parallel to Panama, but in this country as well, what the oligarchs like to do is they give you that narrative where you work hard, play by the rules, pay your taxes, blah, 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 and then the promise is that your kids will do better. And what they do, and when your kids do better, like what the black experience in this country when those towns were prospering after Reconstruction, what did the Ku Klux Klan folks do? They literally burned those towns out, or they kicked the people out, or they killed some of them and chased the other ones away. So every once in a while they do what I call an economic cleansing, in the same way that Netanyahu referred to the Palestinians as weeds, where he has to mow the grass every once in a while. And that's the frustration that we experience. It's not the working class being lazy, it's incompetence and or the greed and the fear of the oligarchs who think the status quo means that they should be the only ones to do better all the time. And it's negotiable.
Thank you, my brother. Got to go, but thank you very much for that, Johnny. I want to thank Ray Breckins. Let me tell you, Ray is a supporter, and he's a sustaining supporter, and he didn't want politics done right to have a donut at zero today. And he gave a small contribution because he's listening to us pitch for please support the program. Thank you. I could read your mind, Ray, a someone that's already a contributor, and just to make sure we had something on the screen, Ray put it out there. Come on in, Ray, line number 2. Or maybe it's line number 1. I'm not sure. Ray, come on in, Ray. Thank you, first of all. Ray, you're on. Oops. For some reason, we're having a little technical problem. Ray, you're on. Ray, you're on. Okay, I'll wait for things to clean up, and then I'll come back. While I do that, let me see if Sandy is on so that he can do a quick pitch for me. Is Sandy here? Okay. Well, anyway, what I'll do is I'll continue a bit with the program and ask you, first of all, to give us a call at 713-526-5738, extension 1. Again, let me just list the thank yous that I want to offer right now. If you, we have a $5 a month contribution. $5 a month contribution. Please consider doing that.
You're on, Sandy.
Okay. Sandy, come on in.
Hey, Egberto. Hope you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, I can hear you now.
I want to thank that Ray for putting that first pledge of the morning on. Small may it be, it's powerful just the same, because if everybody listening did just the same, you would be at your goal and beyond, and KPFT would be in a great place. When you sit idly by and don't take action, this is your community radio station. This is our goal together, everybody. We're not doing this because we have grand salaries at KPFT. We don't. In fact, we have one paid employee. It's interesting that you're talking about inflation this morning, and you made comment that the minimum wage becomes less and less as inflation eats away at the power of the dollar given through wages to any individual, and it affects those at the lower end of the pay scale, the spectrum, so much more. Now stop for a moment. Inflation affects everybody. We all go to the grocery store, we're all paying more. You know, whatever good or commodity that it is that's increased, if it's something that we use in common, we're all paying for it more. KPFT is not immune to inflation. Our costs go up too. Fortunately, we're able to manage those costs almost. Houdini would be proud of some of the magic tricks that we have to do just to stretch the dollars between fund drive. Ergo, the need for sustainers. When you give the sustaining dollar, the money comes in at a constant pace and we can plan around it. Our needs are $52,000 a month. It's a lot of money to run a 100,000 watt FM broadcast entity in the heart of the third or fourth largest city in the country, depending on who you're talking to. And it's difficult to stretch those dollars when all the negotiable costs have been either contained or eliminated. So you're faced with the idea of pay the electric bill or pay for ASCAP BMI rights to pay the artists as we play music. Which one should I pay? Well, the truth of the matter is, and in all fairness to everybody that contributes to this radio stations, the artists, the volunteers, the people out there that are giving money to this fund drive, and so far 240 people have given money during the course of this fund drive, and we are but $64 short of the $40,000 mark. It's not fair to everybody to stand idly by. We need your help, folks. We need to get this money in so that we can continue. Inflation's very real to KPFT as well, so, you know, if you've given $5 in the past, maybe you can do $6 this time. I don't know. But in any event, thank you very much to Ray for being the first contributor today. And you don't have a zero on the board, but you're still about, $295 away from your goal. Egberto.
Ray, absolutely. Ray,
5738.
Absolutely. 713-526-5738 extension 1. Let's get Ray on real quick. I want to thank Ray. Hey, Ray, thank you. I know you wanted to make sure that we got something on the board because you're already a contributor on and on again. So thank you so kindly, my brother. Ray, I don't know why we're not hearing the phones this morning. Ray, we may be having a little bit of problems here, but I want to tell you.
That thing is not working right this morning first.
Sorry about that, Ray. We're having some telephone problems, but I want everybody to know Ray has been a contributor for a long time. He's a sustainer, and he wanted to make sure we didn't have a donut, and he gave yet another small contribution. I thank you, Ray. I want to ask others to do the same. 713-526-5738. We're almost close to the end of our time here. So for the rest of the program, please go to politicsandright.com/newsletter, politicsandright.com/newsletter. But I got to close out with a pitch. And it goes as follows, folks. we can't do it without you, and it is serious that we can't do it without you. 7135. Hold up with the music a bit. Let me show. 713-526-5738 is the number. Please remember to select Politics Done Right as the program that you support, even if you're not given in this hour, but that you wanted to listen to the program and give later on. Go ahead and go to kpft.org, kpft.org, and hit the donate button. Select Politics Done Right as the program you're choosing, and choose one of the many different thank you offers that we have. You can still call in as well and tell them it's for Politics Done Right by going to 713-526-5738, extension number 1. 713-526-5738. Extension number 1. I want to thank so kindly the heroic effort of Brother Van Bever, Jack Van Bever, in the studio. Want to thank Sandy for waking up early in the morning to pitch with me. I know that you guys are going to make me whole as soon as we close this program out. I know you're going to hit the phones. I know you're going to hit the website and support us at kpft.org, hit in Politics Done Right, as well as 713-526-5738, extension number 1. With that, I'm going to throw it to Sandy just before we close the show out. Sandy.
Thank you, Egberto. Yeah, folks, come on. We really need to get a couple pledges in this morning. It's Monday morning. It feels like Monday morning. The telephone system knows it's Monday morning. My computer knew it was Monday morning when I started cranking that thing up about 5:30. Everything's moving a little slow, but our fund drive can't afford to move slowly. We have a precious few days to collect these funds each and every day. We're hoping to gather up just enough to make our goal for the day. Each and every program contributes its goal. And then at the end, it all totals up to enough money to pay those bills for the next couple months. I assure you, those bills are very, very real, but so is KPFT. 54 years, the oldest FM station in Houston, with the balls to put Egberto Willies on the air every morning. Democracy Now! Follows. Arnie Arneson preceded. These are very valuable shows to the listeners that consume them. Come on, if you use this every day, you've never made a pledge, you haven't pledged in over a year, please dial that number, 713-526-5.
15 seconds.
Get a KPFT coffee mug or a 32-ounce steel tumbler. Get some KPFT coffee or a Politics Done Right t-shirt as a thank you. But the greatest thank you of all is KPFT broadcasting in Houston. Egberto, how do you wrap this up?
My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.